microphone. Can you hear me in the back? You look beautiful. My wife and children. The fashion of the late 18th century will go tonight with a story, a ghost story, a love story, and a story of peer-to-peer file sharing. It may surprise you to find that this was written in 1920. That was before they had computers. And yet you'll hear about the torrent. There'll be some words you may not be familiar with, some that you are familiar with. You know what an ostler is? An ostler? An ostler is the guy that takes care of the horses at an inn. You ride into the inn, someone's got to take care of your horse. That's the ostler. Some colors you may not know. Claret. You know what color claret is? It's actually an English word, but it comes from a French word, claret. You know what the claret is in France? It's a wine, kind of a red wine. So claret's a red wine. You'll hear about King George, just briefly. I think you'll like the story. You may have heard it before. Oh. If you had to say, out of all the core professors, who was the most beautiful? Who would it be? Really? Is it even a contest? In fact, the word Bonnie, which you'll also hear, means beautiful. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor when the highwayman came riding. A highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He had a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fit with never a wrinkle. His boots were up to his thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle. His pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hip a twinkle, under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed into the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip at the shutter, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Beth. The landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark in the old inn yard, a stable wicket creaked, where Tim, the ostler, listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness. His hair, like moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog, he listened, and he heard the robbers say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart. I'm after a prize tonight, but I'll be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet, if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight. Watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." Then up he rose in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosed her hair in the casing. His face burnt like a brand as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast. And he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet, dark waves in the moonlight. And he galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawn. He did not come at noon. Then, out of the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road is a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, a red coat troop came marching. A red coat troop came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord. They drank his ale instead. But they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her window, their muskets by their side. There was death at every window. and hell at one dark window, for through the casement Bess could see the road that he would ride. They bound her up at attention with many a sniggering jest. They tied a musket beside her, the barrel beneath her breast. Now, keep good watch. And they kissed her. She heard the doomed man say, look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way. They tied her hands behind her. She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat and blood. She twisted and strained in the darkness. The hours crawled by like years, till now, on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger, at least, was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood at attention, the barrel beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing. She would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood in her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her lover's refrain. Tlot, 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 tlot. Had they heard it? Horse hoofs ringing clear. Tlot, 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 tlot. In the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight over the brow of the hill, the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The highwaymen came riding. The red coats looked to their priming, and she stood up, straight and still. Tlot, tlot, in the frosty silence. Tlot, tlot, in the shimmering night. Nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred away to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched in her own red blood. Not till the dawn he heard it. His face grew gray to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, watched for her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, the white road smoking behind him, his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon. Wine red was his velvet coat when they shot him down in the highway, down like a dog on the highway. And he laid in his blood on the highway, a bunch of lace at his throat. And still they say, when the wind is in the trees, and the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon the cloudy seas, and the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs into the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip at the shutter, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot